welcome to Saxo Bank's live market call. Today it's Wednesday, 10th of January. Yesterday was a rather active trading day, both in terms of the economic releases as well as the price action. There was a lot of data and economic indices that were being released. Few ones that are really worth mentioning. We had German figures coming out, disappointing across the board. Everything except for the German current account figures basically disappointed the market expectations. We had German retail sales for the month of November showing a contraction of 1.3%. This translated into a yearly figure of minus 3.2%, and the expectations for both were in the positive territory. Likewise, the German industrial production showed a contraction of minus 0.9% month over month, and this against an expectation of a expansion of 0.5%. So that gives you an idea of the sort of the degree of disappointing figures from Germany. Eurozone GDP for the third quarter, quarterly figures of course came out at 0.8%. Yearly figure was 2.7%. This was pretty much along the expected lines. Later in the American session, we started the day with the Canadian housing starts for the month of December, showing a new housing starts in the amount of 187,500. This was somewhat below the expected level of 222,000 new housing starts. Quite important for the energy and the commodity markets was the U.S. DOE crude oil inventories showing a draw of nearly 7 billion barrels. This was 3 times the expected figure and obviously jolted the markets. But at the same time, we had U.S. gasoline inventories showing a much larger than expected increase in the stockpile. So these two figures somewhat offset each other. Later in the Asian session, we had the Japanese net stock investments as well as the net bond investments for December. The bond investments for the month of December were at 39.3 billion yen. This was half the figure compared to the prior reading, and the net stock investment actually showed a contraction of 18.5 billion with the prior figure at 209.3 billion yen. So on the market, this basically meant that yen was higher, but yen was higher on carry trade unwinding. Again, the theme of carry trade unwinding has returned. Nowadays it seems like the carry trade theme is basically changing from one trading day to another, and at least in the Asian session, the prevalent theme was the carry trade unwinding. Sterling, another big loser in the marketplace, lower across the board. Euro pound now making new highs about 0.75. Also cable trading much lower, pushing for 195. On the fixed income side, the treasuries are a little changed. The treasury markets are waiting for Bernanke's Fed Chairman Bernanke's speech later in the afternoon. JGPs are higher. They are higher on falling Asian, especially falling Japanese stock prices, and bonds are in tight range ahead of the ECB's rate decision later today. On the equity markets, the U.S. stocks were broadly higher. Nasdaq up 1.39%, Dow Jones up 2.16%. In contrast, the Asian session saw remarkable losses, or large losses. Nikkei was down by about 1.5%. Hang Seng down by even a greater amount, by 1.71%. On the commodity market, as mentioned, we had some key figures being released yesterday, and the U.S. crude inventories and gasoline figures were sort of offsetting each other, and thereby steadying the oil prices. The February contract is now around $95.60 a barrel. Spot gold has consolidated around $876.80. This after a run-up to $884 an ounce yesterday. So what's going on in the marketplace? Well, obviously the big items of today are the double interest rate decisions coming out from Europe. First we have the ECB rate decision and then the BOE. Expectations are Unchanged rates in both. BOE is expected to keep rates at 5.5%, and ECB is expected to keep rates at 4%. What will be interesting, however, is Trichet's, ECB Chairman Trichet's speech after the rate decision. He has traditionally had a very hawkish outlook, very hawkish monetary outlook. However, the disappointing German figures yesterday and the overall economic slowdown, one that has also affected the continental Europe, make it rather difficult for him to actually implement his hawkish stance. So it will be interesting to observe the details of his speech. Same goes for BOE in the sense that the markets are expecting largely a no change. There is an outside chance, a small probability of a cut, 25 basis point cut to 5.25%. About 1/5 of the surveyed economists and analysts on Bloomberg actually believe that this would be the case later today. Looking at the calendar today, we have early in the morning Norwegian CPI figures for the month of December being released at 9 GMT. Later in the day, as mentioned, at 12 o'clock GMT again, we have the BOE interest rate announcement, followed by the ECB at 12:45. In the American session, the day begins with initial jobless claims and continuing claims, the first one for the month of January and the latter for the month of December. Both of these figures will be released at 13:30 GMT. Later in the American session, as mentioned earlier, we have the Fed chairman. He's speaking at Washington, D.C. on the economic outlook. So this will be closely watched by the markets. And this speech is, or comments is at 1800 GMT. Later this week, or rather on Friday, the calendar is again very light. We have the Canadian unemployment rate and the American trade balance. Those are all both on Friday. Our strategy, our FX strategy for the day is to sell dollar yen into any major rallies. Dollar yen basically was resisted about 110 earlier today. There's a key resistance at 110.40. It is also a Ichimoku cloud level on a daily graph. What we are looking to do indeed is selling into rallies. We are keeping our stops at 110.75, and we are targeting a key Fibonacci support level around $108. So again, selling into rallies, targeting 108 on dollar yen. On the equity side, we have a short recommendation for Air France KLM. We are looking, it's sort of a breakout play. There's a neat downward channel that we are looking to continue with today's price action. The breakout level is at 20.96. That's where we will intend to sell the stock. The target is at 18.11, and initial target, is at 18.11. The final target is at 15.56, and we are keeping a stop loss order about $21.52. That is it for me today. Thank you very much for joining us. Join us again tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.